Hey everybody, it's time for another version of Trolling for Stinkers. I know I owe you guys a video. It's been kind of a while, but I've been kind of busy lately with Indie Film Cafe and doing all that kind of stuff, plus work as well. So I'm back here in Mook House Studios to sort of go over some of the movies that I've been getting the last week. So the previous week, I ended up going across the puddle into Norfolk, and I went to a place called the Movie Exchange. It's also the Book Exchange and the Music Exchange. So it's there in Ward's Corner. It's been there for like forever. So ever since I came down in the 80s, I remember it always had been there. So now it's a store that resales DVDs and Blu-rays and CDs and books and just all kinds of stuff there. So and it's generally a pretty good deal. You can usually get DVDs for $5 a pop, and usually 3 for $12. So not a bad deal at all. So I went over and checked it out just to see what it was, because and see what they had, because I hadn't actually been there, even though I've been living here almost 20 years. So I thought I'd check it out and do some trolling for stinkers, and I found some pretty decent stuff there. So first of all, I found this film called Octopus 2, River of Fears. Unfortunately, they did not have Octopus 1, but, I guess that's going to be okay. I imagine there are a lot of unanswered questions that Octopus 2 will hopefully give the answers to, but it looks pretty bad. That's definitely a very fake-looking octopus there, so we will check that out. Okay, next we have a 6-movie set from Pendulum Pictures, always known for their quality, called Everlasting Evils. And what we got on here is Invitation, Blood Rights, Death from Beyond, Deadly Memories, The Innocent, and Siege of Evil. So, yeah. I'm not sure who is involved in these, but if it's Pendulum, you can always guarantee it's going to be micro budget, low budget. We'll see. Every now and again, when you go, searching through the junk, you end up finding a diamond here and there. So you never know. I got some good hopes for this, though. You figure at least 1 out of 6 is going to be good. Disc number 3, it turns out to be another collection here. This is the Midnight Horror Collection. Check that out. And the movies here are The Vampire Conspiracy, Fist of the Vampire, Curse of the Wolf, and everybody's favorite, Bachelor Party with the Bungalow of the Damned. That sounds absolutely outstanding. As a matter of fact, I'm almost positive that is a trauma movie. I can't really see because I didn't bring my glasses, but yeah, this looks like it's high quality stuff here. So that should be good. Next movie I found, something called The Ruins. I'm not really sure about this. I know that Carter Smith is the director, and it stars folks Jonathan Tucker and Jenna Malone. Really? Okay, so that should be interesting. It looks like chicks who've gone on camping who kind of run into things they shouldn't run into. So we will check it out. And finally, I got a movie from the After Dark Horror Fest, 8 Films to Die For, Lake Dead, which is not about a dead lake, but presumably dead things in the lake. So this looks like it could be interesting. It's a real grab bag, these After Dark Horror Fest movies. Some of them are actually really pretty darn good for low budget and micro budget. Some of them are not so good. Some of them are just dull. I mean, I'm a lot less, irritated when a movie tries and just fails miserably, because, not everybody has the kind of money to really sink into the kind of budgets that you really require to pull off some of these movies, but they at least try. You know what I mean? But for me, and I've always said this on Indie Film Cafe, the cardinal sin of bad filmmaking is to make a boring movie. It just makes something very uninteresting. So, hopefully Dead Lake will be pretty good. And I will let you know. I know Jonathan Moody, who is my co-host on Indie Film Cafe, has been after me to start doing some reviews, some review videos. And I think I'm probably going to end up doing some. It's just, finding the time. This is, that's the problem. If I were off all the time, I'd just be making these videos constantly, but I'm not. So got to do what you got to do. So anyway, this was last week. I went over there, and coming back, I thought, well, maybe this might be a good opportunity to get back to Fantasy over in Newport News off Jefferson Avenue. Now, Fantasy is a store that's been there forever. I think I talked about this before. It's, music and movies, and, there's some 420 stuff. There's posters. There's all kinds of stuff. A lot of fantastical kinds of things there. And they've unfortunately had to go out of business. They've been there for a long, long time. But you know how it is. Movies and CDs just aren't moving like they used to. So I went over there, and I happened to hit them when they were doing a sale. And these were just like used movies were, I think, 99 cents, and all new movies were like $4.99, something like that. It was like really, really good. So I bought a bunch of stuff because what the heck? And it was payday. You know how it is. So let me show you what I got from Fantasy. And by the way, that place is still open, so I would definitely get yourself over there and check it out. So first thing I got is something called Phantasma, Volume 1. I believe this is part 1 of a group of Japanese short films that have been strung together. I think there's a couple seasons of them. I've heard about them. I don't know specifically about these two. The ones in this volume include The Midnight Cheerleader, sounds great, and Always Together. Now, some of these are actually pretty rough and kind of violent and kind of gory. Others are kind of dull. It's really, like I said before, a mixed bag. But definitely willing to give it a shot because you never know. So that's that one. Next, I found one that an oldie but a goodie, one I'd seen before, and I simply could not pass up now that I saw it. Oh yeah, Flesh Eating Mothers. Gotta love this. This is a classic from 1989, and it's a great indie film, and it's just like you might imagine. It's soccer moms gone wild, turning into flesh-eating zombies, as they do, and just kind of biting off more than they can chew. So that should be interesting. I think I remember seeing this back in the late 80s, early 90s, but I didn't actually have it. So now I get to have it. Always a good thing. Next, we have an interesting looking film called The Truth About Demons. Hell is Real. So this looks pretty interesting. Let's see here. Looks like Glenn Standring is the director. And there's, looks, I don't know. It says here, when you discover the truth about demons, can you ever make it back alive? Well, let's hope so. I'm not 100% sure what this is about other than demons, but we will check it out and see. Next, we have one that I know is going to be a classic. It is Mr. Creepo Presents Lesbian Vampires. I wonder what this is about. Yeah, so, and it's also The Curse of Ed Wood. So you know it's going to be fantastic. And it is introducing the Creepettes, the most electrifying scream queens of horror. So we'll have to see about that. It's 80 minutes of what looks like to be all kinds of crazy nubile vampire fun. So I'll let you know how that goes. And then, oh, there's more. Plenty more. Next movie we have is something called Sacred Flesh. And looks like this is directed by Nigel Wingrove. So looks like it's a bunch of nuns doing naughty things. I don't know if you can see that, but there are some nuns doing some naughty things. So they're probably wrapped up with the devil too, and that never leads to fun and frolics. So that should be interesting. We'll check it out. And this is one that I'd heard about, but had not seen. This is an underground independent classic by George Kozlowski called Blood of the Beast. So this is definitely one of those indie films that had kind of a buzz to it. I had heard folks talking about it. I had not seen it. And it looks like it is directed and acted by George Kozlowski himself. And there aren't very many, not very many people here that I recognize at all. So this is looking like very, very, very indie theater. And you never know what you're going to get. Sometimes you get the good or the bad, and sometimes the ugly. We'll see. But for like $4.99, couldn't pass it up. Next, we have another collection because, you know, I can't pass up collections, especially when they're cheap. This one is a 9-movie collection. Movie Rule 219, beware what lurks in the woods. Can you see that? So there are 9 films there. Sorry, my big fat fingers were covering the movie titles, but I'll read them out to you. Pelt, Dogman, The Elves, or The Eves, Monsters in the Woods, Dire Wolf, Another Kind, Night Drive, The Ridge, and The Lonely Ones. Now, I've heard of Dire Wolf before. I think that was called like The Werewolf or something like that. That had another name, and I believe so did Dogman. So there are a couple in here that I had heard before. Pelt is another one that I had heard of before, hadn't quite seen. The Ridge, I think I also have heard of too. It's hard to tell. These things all start to blur after a while. But there are at least 2 or 3 of these that I had never heard of before, so this should be pretty interesting. So we'll check it out. We'll let you know. Next is another movie. It's sometimes, you know, you buy these movies based solely on the title, even though you know it's going to be pretty awful, which is kind of the point, so I don't mind taking the chance. But how could you pass up Motocross Zombies from Hell? Yeah, so this looks very, very strange. I know. I kind of looked a little up about it, and pretty much like it says, it is zombies on motorbikes driving around. The race is on, win or get eaten. So there you go. We will definitely have to check that out and see what kind of silliness is in store. Next, we have a classic, one that I've been looking for a long time. I used to have this in in VHS back in the day. It's a Full Moon Pictures classic, Head of the Family, with the wonderful Jacqueline Lavelle. Yay! So this is a classic. I know that I think I saw this with Moody. I think they had some of the Full Moon Pictures on demand on the internet, somewhere out on the interwebs, and we checked it out because he hadn't seen it before. And so at that point, I hadn't seen it in a while because I had gotten rid of most of my VHS tapes. So when I saw that, I was like, man, I got to look for Head of the Family because I actually love this movie. This is actually, it's not really a stinker so much as a guilty pleasure. Whenever you have anything that involves, you know, monsters and grotesque little heads in a wheelchair, nubile chicks running around, and Shakespeare, or at least something like Shakespeare, it's pretty interesting. It's a heady brew, to say the least, and it's actually a lot of fun. The acting's really well done. Special effects are good. Great film. Head of the Family. If you guys see it out there, or if you see it online at Full Moon Videos, you definitely want to grab it. It's a classic. And then finally, the last one that I got for the Trolling for Stinkers from Fantasy is a movie that I did not know before, but when I saw the box cover, oh yeah, I had to have it. It's called Succubus, Hell Bent. And we're talking vampire chick with the full moon glasses and serious cleavage. So it says here, what happens at spring break should stay at spring break. So this is like some guy who goes on spring break, runs into a vampire, and looks like all kinds of hijinks ensue. Gary Busey is in there, at least for a hot moment. Lorenzo Lamas is in there. The wonderful and beautiful Kelly Hu is in there. And David Keith, of all folks. So this should be interesting. Should be a lot of cool actors and a lot of cool stuff in here. So I was very pleased to see this. And I shall watch it and give you all a report at some point. So, just to kind of wrap things up, I had gone down and seen these movies at these two Trolling for Stinkers places, and I thought, okay, it's time for me to go ahead and make another video, even though I'm not actually showing you guys the trolling for Stinkers live, as it was. That's okay. I don't mind every now and again coming into Moo Cow Studios and just doing it in here. But today, I happen to also have to go to Best Buy because I had gotten myself one of those big, giant, 400 disc movie packs to sort of store your DVDs in, because I have so many of them. I have thousands and thousands and thousands of these things, and I got to store them somewhere. And you can't just keep them all inside the boxes, the jewel boxes, because it just takes up way too much room. So, plus, over at our new studios over there for Indie Film Cafe, we are putting up all the boxes there for, as part of set decoration. And I just couldn't find any more of those movie holders because they're really hard to find. But I went online and I found a big 400 movie disc folder for like $20, which was great. And I had them mail it to Best Buy because they're one of the affiliates who actually had it. So I went over there and picked it up, and I thought, while I'm there, I might as well check out just to see what kind of movies they've got. And while they did have a few DVDs, they actually had a lot of decent Blu-rays for sale. So I went tiptoeing through the Blu-rays, and here's my thing. I love collecting bad movies. I love collecting stinky movies. I love collecting independent film. I generally don't do that for Blu-ray. Generally for Blu-ray, I keep that for what I call my real movies, my good movies. And traditionally, I usually do these things that are visually exceptional. So things like Blade Runner, okay, or Close Encounters of the Third Kind, or, movies of that nature. Something where, it's clearly going to make a big difference on the visuals, and that the visuals are a major aspect of the film itself. So, I mean, as much as I love Head of the Family, there's kind of no point in getting it in Blu-ray because, it's just not going to improve it a whole lot. The movie is what it is, and it's perfectly fine in DVD. However, every now and again, you find a classic flick or two, and I happen to find 5 that were on sale. First one, the 1979 remake, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Now, this is one of the rare times when a Hollywood remake of a classic film from the 60s, the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which was a really good film. This film meets and exceeds the expectations. This was such a great film with Donald Pleasance. There are many, many super creepy moments. It was really well done, really well directed. The acting is absolutely fabulous. It is creepy as hell. There's a lot of genuinely scary moments in this film, and it's Philip Kaufman is the director who always does a really good job. If you find this out there, you really need to take it upon yourself if you like good quality horror films, and get yourself a copy of this. It's really, really, really good, and I was very happy to see it. And it's a collector's edition, so it looks like there's all kinds of extra cool stuff in there, too. So that's the first one. Second one, and this was $5.99, 2 movies. Scream Queen double feature. We got John Carpenter's The Fog, and we have the original The Howling. Fabulous, fabulous werewolf movie. Fabulous, fabulous ghost movie. Jamie Lee Curtis, Adrienne Barbeau, Janet Leigh, Dee Wallace. I mean, you can't beat that as a double feature. Blu-ray for $6, less than $6. Come on. I'm not passing that up. This cow ain't no fool. So I got that. Next, I happen to see Kevin Smith's Mallrats. Now, I know that a lot of Kevin Smith fans, in fact, don't care for Mallrats. I loved Mallrats. I loved it when it first came out. I can't help it. I just think it's hysterical. I love all the characters in there. It's just one of my favorite films, and maybe maybe you could qualify it as a guilty pleasure. I don't know. I happen to think it's a very good film. I really love all the characters in it, and it just cracks me up. It's one of those movies that just makes me laugh no matter how many times I see it. So this has the theatrical version, and it has the extended version, which I have not seen. So that makes it interesting. Now, typically, this is generally not the kind of thing that I might have gotten in Blu-ray for the exact same reasons I talked about earlier, but because of all the extras and because I really have a soft spot for Mallrats, I just had to do it. And $6, come on. And then finally, the very last one I'm going to show you, I promise, is another classic. And it's another one that I think is very visually interesting, and I can't actually wait to see it in Blu-ray, and that is The Warriors. Warriors, come out to play! The Walter Hill classic. Absolutely fabulous. One of my favorite movies. I remember, I was a little kid kind of when it first came out, and this caused quite a stir. I know it caused a lot of issues in certain theaters. There were some riots involved and some problems and a lot of other stuff. There's a lot of stuff that was probably overblown as well. You know how things are, but in the movie industry, there's no such thing as bad publicity, so they all kind of played it up. Fortunately, this is actually a really, really good film, and it's another classic film that I think everybody should check out. And the fact that it's been released in Blu-ray, I'm just tickled pink about, so I can't wait to see this. So at the same time that the Stinker collection grows, so too does the Blu-ray collection, slowly but surely. I don't have nearly enough. Blu-rays, I've only got like about 100 at this point. But DVDs, thousands upon thousands upon thousands. And that's the thing, is that, we get to a point where the backlog of movies that I haven't seen yet is almost getting to the point where it's taken over the ones that I have seen. So I'm going to have to start watching some of these movies and making some reviews. So expect that in the future. So I think that wraps up tonight's version of Trolling for Stinkers. I'm hopefully going to be able to get back out on the weekend and do another proper version where we actually take the phone and actually show the actual trolling as it happens in the actual place itself. I got to kind of figure out where my next one's going to be, but hopefully that'll be coming soon. We just had our live event down at the Firehouse Coffee in Fort Monroe. We did Robot Monster. It was really good. Weren't enough people really who showed up, but it was still pretty fun for those who did. And we're hoping to do another one. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to sneak it in May, but at least in June. I'm hoping to do one. So we want to be able to do a few more of these, and when they happen, we will let you know. We were continuing to do podcasts, and I know Jonathan Moody is going on to Texas Frightmare. He's going to be doing some interviews and talking to some folks there and sending us some videos and some updates from there. And in the summer, we have Scares the Care here in Williamsburg, so we're going to have all kinds of cool stuff there. And we're just going to continue with our podcast. So, if you have some interesting movies you want to send us, you want to let us know, contact us. Go to our website, https://indiefilm.reviews or indiefilmcafe.reviews, and check us out on Facebook as well. But if you go to our webpage, it's got everything there. It's got our, our video page. It's got our podcasts. It's got our Patreon. Money. It's got all of the little podcast things that we're part of. It's got all our individual movie things. I have a movie review, traditional typed movie review page there, and Jonathan Moody has his personal web page there. Just Jen has her cooking blog there, which is a lot of fun. So come check us out, and keep an eye out. We'll let you know when the next Indie Film Cafe movie's coming out for the podcast, and hopefully we'll be doing another Trolling for Stinkers coming up soon. So catch you on the flip side. Bye.